kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Kids, welcome back. It's been a hot few days, literally a hot few days. It's been in the like 90s, 100% humidity, thunderstorms, whatever. So I took that chance of downtime and I built the other 6S tunnel. Here's a picture of it real quick. I did a Dairy Queen theme, called it the Banana Split in because my girls love Dairy Queen, my daughter. So I built a Dairy Queen boat because I couldn't think of anything else to do. But anyway, I built that in 3 days, and we're waiting for the lawless lower unit for that. That one's going to be a 6S. Now, I'm going to go over some things that we're going to change on the boat, and a couple of things that I did. It still has not been in the water yet. But Joe saw the video, Joe from ZippKits, and took pity on me and mailed me a couple things out of the goodness of his heart. He just sent me some stuff. He sent me this bracket, because remember I was saying this bracket was all jury-rigged and gross looking because I just kind of half-assed it. Well, I didn't even know he had this. If I would have known, I would have ordered it, so thank you, Joe. I didn't even know we had this. This is under outboard accessories on the web page. I looked in gas engine accessories, and it wasn't in there. It's in the outboard accessories. So maybe, Joe, you might want to put it in both places. I don't know. But this has got a coil relocator kit built into it and the spacer. Bam! So I'm going to take off the coil relocator kit that we put on, and I'll use it in another boat because I want to use this. So it's a much cleaner solution. The other thing he sent me, he does sell the little arms for the carburetor. Remember when I said I had to change my carb setup to make it lower, and I had to make this STL file different and blah, 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 blah. He sent me, again, out of the goodness of his heart, a couple of these, actually. I think he thinks I'm going to build 2. I would love to build 2 of these boats, but that engine's a bit much for me to eat. So I did reprint the holder for it. What else we got? Oh, and the whole reason he sent the care package to begin with was I needed the thrust washers. Remember we talked about in the other videos that I'm going to move this boat. That to keep the shafts alive and well, we need to put in thrust bearings. So we got 2 of those. And out of the goodness of his heart, he also sent me some props to test. Here is a 463. That is a, 320? 370. 70. And then this one's another 463. He sent me 2 of those. Maybe he thinks I'm building a twin. I don't know. And then, thank you, Joe. And another 670. Now, I have these. I run these on other boats, too. So these 2 are kind of like the same devil. But one's cast and one's machined. Well, that one's cast, too. So we're going to go with the smallest prop, which would be this little 463 dude. It's actually already pretty sharp, and we're going to just balance it out, put it on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this thrust bearing on. So what we're going to do is we're going to unscrew this bottom bushing unit. And remember, it's backwards, okay? So left is tight, right is loose. That goes for K and B outboard lower units, lawless outboard units, and probably OS. I've never had an OS, but I'm assuming they're the same. And that's how you want to grease your shaft most of the time, too. So we're going to take that off. We're going to do that. I told you in the other video, I am absolutely in love with this boat, and it hasn't even been in the water yet, that just because it's just the neatest thing. But the one nitpick I had was I didn't love the way the cowl was held on with those nylon screws. Because when I'm down at the water and I'm blind, if I drop those screws in the grass, and we're going to find them. So I came up with a different solution. I stole from the RC car guys this method. All right, body pins. We've all seen these. Got them on the front too. No big deal. The difference is we only have to pull 1 pin, and the whole thing will slide out. It goes all the way through, like a little harpoon. Get the front out. I am sad though, I got a little crazy with my big long drill bit and I hit the side of my boat and I got a nick in it. So sad. So I epoxied it up, but that's okay. I'll throw a sticker over it, you'll never see it. And then this pops right off. Okay. So basically the same principle, the only difference is, hang on. The only difference is what I did was I took a very long drill bit. I have a drill bit that's like this long, goes through walls, and drilled all the way through. I put the cowl on, I did the fronts, and they're still in the original positions of where everything would be, like for the nylon screws, but I drilled them out, made them a little bit bigger. I just 3D printed a shaft with a flat, because it's just easier to print with a flat on it. Drilled some hole, had some holes in the design there, and they just slide right through, all the way like that, and it pins it on. I like that solution better, but if you want to use the screws, that's fine. I did also mount our battery 3D print. So let's see if we can get down this mess here a little bit. But that's all that is. All it does is hold this 2200 3S for the servo and our radio battery for the radio and the steering, and they won't fly out of there. I'm not worried about it. Now, the oiler, I did mount the oiler. And you can see it's coming down, and I told you in the last video we threaded this, put in a little pitot, and this is mounted to the transom, not the engine. It has clearance, it's not going to hit. We fill that guy up with our magic solution, which was 50-50 Marble Mystery Oil and 50-50 or 50% oil treatment, STP oil treatment, I believe. So what I did is I actually epoxied and wood, that's a wood screw that's in there, pretty deep. So it should stay pretty stout. I don't think it's going to fall off. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pop this whole thing off, and once I get it off, I will flip it back on and we'll go over it.
What are you doing here? Looking for shells?
No, I'm just looking.
There we go. So now, since I already had the coil relocation kit on there before, I have to reset my coil, okay, because it's straight against the flywheel. So what you want to do with this, if you want, you can take out the spark plug, loosen up your compression. All you've got to do is take, I'm using one of my business cards here, about the only thing I use them for anymore. Let's get you out. Okay. Take yourself a business card or 30 thou, preferably on the magnets. Set it in there. And if you set it to that business card, you will be square to the world pretty much every time. If you have a better way of doing it, by all means, keep doing it. But this has always worked for me. Where's my slow ass drill? There it is. Okay. Now, per usual, kids, always Loctite anything goes on this engine. Start them by hand first. Let's move over a little bit. Okay. Hands in the way, I know. Set our clutch up. Okay. Perfect. All right. Now, you may want to give it a little bit of a hand torque as well. Okay. Now the next bit is going to be our JoJo plate. Okay. So take our 3 existing screws. Again, you're only going into pot metal with these things. This cast aluminum stuff sucks. So don't torque the crap out of it. And yes, I Loctite these. A lot of people don't because they can seize up. Oh well. Heat it up and get them off with a torch then. Not the end of the world. So since I despise Phillips screwdrivers and this type of stuff, I'm not going to use the slow ass drill. I'm going to do it by hand. Because if these strip, it just sucks. This engine already has a lot of Loctite in it. I probably didn't even need to do that, but that's all right. Now, the nice thing about this, those of you that have run boats more than 5 minutes, at one point in your life, I guarantee you, if you ever do any real work on your boats, you have stripped out the screws that hold in your pull start. And I have done it many times where I've either had to re-tap them or do whatever. There. And since this is a machined piece of aluminum, those are going to be much more stout. Okay, so you can put this on any way you want it. Put it that way. I'm not left-handed. I'm going to try it this way. This is going to be a different way of starting an engine for me, because one, I very rarely even pull start. Let's see, is that long enough? That's too long. Engines anymore. So we'll have to see what my preferred angle is. Use a washer, as they say in Indiana. Use a washer. Okay. And per usual, use some Loctite. Better to put the Loctite on the screw than in the hole, but depending on your situation, not the end of the world. Okay, so I'm just going to hand thread these in real quick. It's faster than the slow ass drill. Okay. This is much nicer. Now I can use that coil relocator. Coil relocating brackets are those things that you never need them till you need them. You know, it's like one of those things where you're building like the drag cat. The drag cat that I built, the Rico, I think that was one of the cases where I was putting the engine in, thought I had everything all prepped, you know, when I was building the boat, and then bam, I was like, shit, I don't have a coil relocating bracket. Put that up 3. Okay. Make sure you're not bound up. Nice. Now for our coil. It's going to go just like that. Nothing but a peanut. Now, tech tip, or blind ass tech tip, when you're putting this bracket on, put the coil on first underneath. That way it doesn't get in the way of your pull start. I didn't take it off and do it that way. I just stuck a Allen up there. It was okay, but it would be easier to put it on before you put that bracket on. So next bit we're going to do, hang on. So we're going to take our shaft assembly. Now this is out of the lower unit. Again, reverse threads. Don't forget that or you'll screw it up. Right is not tight anymore, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our drive dog off. Now this is all standard. What is this, 9/16? Yes, 9/16 to get this off. And the prop nut is a 7/16. Okay, so we're going to take off our drive dog and we're going to put on our thrust bearing. Okay. And sucker don't want to come off. Is it supposed to come off? Hang on a tick. Razor blade, razor blade, razor. Ah, no, that's a bushing. See that? I don't know if you guys can see in there. That's actually a, yeah. Okay, that doesn't come off. Alright. Perfect. Double notched. So now, this is what we took out. You've got 2 fiber washers in there and a copper, or brass, whatever they're calling them nowadays. And this one's got 4 washers. Now, mind you, I don't ever use these, even on electrics, because electric motors nowadays can take it. They don't need thrust bearings usually. Back in the brush days, you needed them. So we're not going to bother lubricating these. I mean, you can if you want, but it's going to get washed out so quick. It's not going to matter. Alright, so we're going to put this back on. We're going to see where this prop ends up. Yeah. So I'm not sure, honestly, if I should have this on here. Hang on. Well, it's Sunday, so I'm getting interrupted constantly. So that bushing, that copper ring there, brass ring, is part that's integral to the piece. Then we got a thrust washer, and we still have enough room for our drive dog set screw. So I'm going to now, again, with these little baby set screws.
No matter what you hear in there, no matter how cruelly I beg you, do not open this door.
Another interruption, of course. So, what I recommend is do not Loctite this set screw. It should stay exactly where you want it. And I'd rather lose it than never be able to get it off again. I mean, obviously you can always torch stuff, but when you got brass involved, not the best plan. But I am going to give it a little bit of torque. Okay. And there we go. Now there's not a hell of a lot of play in there. I want there to be a little bit of play in there. So we're going to open that up. You want to open up that set screw so it's just enough that it slides a little bit. Easier said than done. Man, sucker's tight. I'll give Fred one thing. His stuff's machined pretty darn accurate. Okay. There we go. That's how I want it. Alright. You want a little bit of play. You don't want anything too tight in the drivetrain. I dig it. I dig it. Alright. So the first prop we're going to play with, I still have to make sure it's balanced. And we'll do a video on that. Maybe he sent me two of the exact same ones because he knows I drive like an idiot. That's probably the truth. Okay. So then this, I'm going to go just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to throw the nut on, but we're not going to tighten it down because I need to balance this. Make sure it's balanced first. This little engine's going to make enough vibration on the back of this thing. And then we would line this up. That's the square output. Okay. And that's going to go over your shaft, and then you're going to left-hand thread it in. Alright. The next thing we've got to do is fix this throttle situation. So this should be fairly easy to do. We're going to take off, of course it would be easy. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to take this old one off, put the new one on that's not modified, and we'll put on this little lever. Alright, but we got to make sure the throttle's in the right position. So be right back.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Right, so what we did, I went ahead and put the balance this out, put the prop shaft back in. I took off the splash guard so you guys can see the throttle setup. So we put the little arm on there from Joe. One thing that I do recommend you do, take a little bit of water tubing and slide it over these clasps as a lock. Works pretty good. I don't like them plastic ones up there. I got to replace that with a metal one. I don't like it, but for right now it'll have to do. And another thing I do is I actually solder. I take some flux and brush it on here and solder this all the way back to here just to make it rigid. That way the cable doesn't like bend and flex on you. Okay, pretty straightforward. And then basically you want to find the happy medium. Just like anything else, make sure your fail-safe goes, when you fail-safes, pulls the butterfly closed. We're going to test this. I'm going to fire it up out in the yard, and I'm going to make sure all my throws are proper. Put some gas in her. Actually, I'm going to start it probably just like this without the shield on, and we'll see what she does. So once we get that done, let's see, is there anything else we're missing? I think that's about it. I might reinforce that little plastic tabby up there. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put a drop of CA glue on there to really keep it closed up. Last thing you want to do is have this thing lock out full speed. If it locks out full speed, that's the drawback with having the spring off. Your best bet with a boat like this, you have no control over your speed, crank it and hope it flips. That's your best bet. So I'm charging up the 3S for the steering. I'm going to do a couple little radio adjustments, and then I think we'll fire it up in the yard and see how she flies. Today is the day I wanted to do the maiden, but look good. I like it. Whew, she's running rich. Stock tuning. So anyway, Superstorm is supposed to be coming, and won't be a maiden today because I ain't carrying that thing down that wet ass hill. So until the next time, kids, keep the dry side up even though it'll probably get wet. Talk to you later. Bye.